Welcome back to our horrible series. I do my announcer voice for this every time, if I'm not screaming at you. This time we begin with... I wasn't going to say his name. I was going to say the character, and then you pointed at yourself, and I'm like, I know it's your character, but which one of them? John. Okay.
John.
This time we begin with John. Is that your right, dude?
No, that's Carlton.
Charlton.
It's Charlton. Charlie, are you okay? It was John. He had caught her. She tried to nod, but she was shaking. She looked at her arm. There was a cut.
Was quivering.
There was a cut above the elbow, almost 4 inches long. It was bleeding freely, and she covered it with her hand. The gaps between her fingers, welling over as her own blood leaked through. Fuck is Marla? You are. Yeah.
What happened?
Marla asked, rushing up behind her.
Charlie, I'm so sorry. I must have hit a button that caused it to move. Are you okay? Charlie nodded, a little shaky. I'm fine, she said. It's not that bad.
It's
She
literally
moved
just...
her arm around experimentally. What? That kind of description is bad. Yes, excuse me while I experiment my arm over here.
It means like, I'm not sure how far I can like move my arm around, so you're like very slowly and carefully moving it around.
Oh, it actually hurt that bad. Oh, I thought it was like a little trip. See? No nerve damage, she said. I'll be fine. I'll be fine, she said.
Carlton, Jessica, and Lamar came out, hurrying out of the control room. We should take her to the ER, Carlton said.
I'm fine.
God damn it. Charlie insisted. She stood up, refusing John's help to brace herself on the stage for a moment. She heard her Aunt Jen's voice in her head. How much blood have you lost? You don't need to go to the hospital. She could move her arm just fine, and she would not bleed to death from this. She felt dizzy, though. Charlie, you look a ghost, John said. We need to get you out of here.
Okay.
She said. Her thoughts were scattered, and the injury hurt less than it should have. She took deep breaths as they headed for the exit, grounding herself. John handed her a piece of cloth, and she put it to the cut to slow the bleeding.
Thanks, she said, looking at him. Please listen. Was that your tie? She asked, and he shrugged.
Do I look like a toy person? She grinned.
I thought it looked good on you. Fuck. Jason!
Marla yelled as they passed the arcade.
Move it, or I'm leaving you behind!
Jason ran to catch up. Is Charlie okay? He said anxiously. Marla caught her breath and put her arm around him.
She's fine,
she reassured him. They walked briskly down the same corridor that they had entered through. Jason looked back as he was being guided out, studying the pictures on the wall once more before losing sight of them. The colored lights from the stage were fading, and the flashlight was throwing shapes and shadows on everything, making the drawings difficult to see. But Jason could swear he saw figures moving in the pictures. They all hurried back to the empty building and out to the parking lot.
William ripped his head off.
What?
William ripped his head off. Took his head off.
Shut up! I'm never calling you again if you don't shut up. Not keeping watch for the guard. When they made it out to the car, Lamar, who had grabbed a big flashlight, flipped it on and shone it at Charlie's arm. She looked down at the cut.
Do you need stitches? Asked. I am so sorry, Charlie. We were all being careless. It's not your fault,
Charlie said. She knew she sounded annoyed, but she didn't mean to. Her voice was tight and clipped with pain. The shock had worn off, but it meant the wound had begun to hurt.
It's fine, Charlie said. Like, how many times are you gonna say it's fine? Like, it's fine, everything's fine.
I'm just trying to convince myself that everything's fine, Charlie said, and after a long moment, the others gave in somewhat reluctantly.
We should at least get you some stuff to clean that up and bandage it. I just didn't see the bandage hit. I went, oh dear God, what happened inside the car? Ma said wanting to do something to atone, however small.
There's a 24-hour drugstore just off the main road, Carlton offered.
So they're both British now, John and Carlton.
Fuck me, yeah. Carlton's just like the really like, yes, that's their ship name. It's like a really high-pitched, squeaky voice that's also British.
Or it'd be Con.
I'm gonna kill myself.
Charlie! You got the problem! You don't change your car back to the With that voice, I kind of regret shipping Charlie with Jessica.
Jessica said.
I'm fine, Charlie protested half-heartedly. But she handed Jessica the keys. You're a good driver, right?
Jessica rolled her eyes.
People from New York know how to drive, Charlie.
John lingered a moment as Charlie was getting into Marla's car. She smiled at him.
They also know how to stay in
Here we go
traffic.
for the 112th time.
I'm fine, she said. I'll see you tomorrow.
No, it's ill. See you tomorrow. He looked at her like there was something more he wanted to say, but he just nodded and left. Please love me.
Okay, Mara said, to the drugstore. Great, they're gonna go take a smoke and a drink.
Charlie twisted in her seat to look at Jason.
Did you have fun? She asked.
The games don't work, he said, obviously preoccupied. The drugstore was only a few minutes away.
Of course he didn't have fun. You stay in the car, Marla commanded Jason as they pulled to a stop.
Don't leave me out here, Jason pleaded.
I told you to stay, she repeated.
This is why people die. This is why people are killed and murdered. Because you left your fucking child in the goddamn car. A little confused by the fear in his voice, he didn't answer, and she and Charlie headed inside. As soon as they were gone, Jason pulled the drawing out of his pocket and held it up under the fate light of the parking lot to examine. It had not changed back. Bonnie the bunny was reaching towards the child who was facing away from him. Curious, Jason scraped at the crayon lines with a fingernail. The wax came off easily, leaving its trace on the paper. Okay, so there's a time skip apparently, because there's like...
Wait, what the fuck did he do while they were
there's like
inside
a
the...
time skip. It doesn't say. I don't... It just
He
says
scraped
he,
a crayon.
he scraped the crayon off of the paper for a reason? Question mark?
This is why you don't leave your kids in the car, okay?
They go crazy. As soon as Marla passed into the fluorescent lit, air-controlled drugstore, she sat and put her hands to her temples.
Oh, he's such a little brat, she said. I like him,
Charlie
Charlie
said honestly. She was still using John's tie to stench the bleeding.
So how the fuck did she get injured again?
So she ran into the Foxy's Pirate's Cove, and Foxy swung his hook at her, and it apparently sliced into her arm.
Why did she run in there to begin with?
Hide and seek.
Hide and seek. Jesus Christ.
And now in brighter light, she peeled it back to see the cut. The bleeding had almost stopped. It was not bad as it had first appeared.
Why would they play hide and seek in an abandoned pizzeria in the first place? They're already messed up in this book.
I probably have
Though the tie was irreparably ruined.
This book is worse than the second book, and that's saying something. Hey, she said, how come you brought Jason anyway?
Marla didn't answer right away, setting her sights on the first aid aisle and heading
That's how
for
you
it.
know the author is fucked up. Here we are, she said. What do you think, God?
What do you think, guys?
Oh, it's Marla. Here we are, she said. What do you think, Jaws? Sure, but don't call me Jaws. Charlie leaned into Marla, but she was like, oh, why is that not capitalized and it is capitalized?
Because she thinks it's a name she's calling her.
I don't get it. If that's supposed to be a name, then capitalize them both. Don't just not capitalize them, capitalize it in the next sentence.
You want me to highlight
Yes, highlight the shit, okay?
The Mad Catter's Tea Party.
Honestly,
You've
that
been
would be a better
exposed
book
to our,
than this book. I would love to read about the Mad Hatter's Tea Party. That'd be a
Catter.
lot better. Catter, whatever.
You think it fucking matters anymore?
Because it's a fucking pun.
This
got a
chicken
cat
is
on
so undercooked, it's still trying to kill the night god.
Antiseptic.
Marla continued grabbing the items.
thing is, she said, so Jason's dad and her mom have been married since before he was born. I mean, obviously. And they're probably getting divorced. I know about it, but Jason doesn't.
Yeah.
What does this have to do with you bringing him along?
I guess they're fighting, and I'm guessing they're fighting, and she wants to get Jason away from the fighting.
Okay, well, if you're gonna bring him...
But it doesn't say that, so I don't know. Yeah, it does. They're fighting all the time.
Oh no, Charlie said. They're fighting all the time, Marla went on. And it scares him, you know? I mean, my dad left when I was still a little kid, so I grew up with that. I was used to it. Plus, I got to have a great stepdad. But for him, it's gonna feel like the end of the world. And they're sure not doing anything to make it easier. They're fighting right in front of us. So I didn't want to leave him alone with that for a week. I'm so sorry, Marla. Charlie said, here you go. Why doesn't Marla step in and try and, like, sort out the situation?
I'm not the
Or
one who
get a
fucking wrote
therapist. Or
this.
this author doesn't know anything about common sense, apparently. Yeah, it's okay, Marla said. I'm leaving in a year. Anyway, I'm just worried about the brat out there. If you care about him to not leave him, why do you still call him a brat?
I still insult my brother when I'm being nice to him.
That's true.
And like, who doesn't insult their siblings all the time?
He's really not a-
But I wouldn't leave my fucking sibling out there knowing there's a fucking killer that killed did 5 kids. I'm sorry, I said that wrong.
She really needs to join our weird calls.
She
That'd be
does.
great.
He's really not a brat, Charlie said, and Marla grinned. I know, he's pretty great, right? I kinda like having him around.
They paid.
Really? You like
Only
having him around?
kinda.
Then why leave him in the car?
But only kinda.
They paid for the supplies. The clerk, a teenage boy, didn't bat an eye at Charlie's moderate blood-splattered
chocolate
appearance.
pecan.
Outside, they sat on the hood of the
Do you
car.
still want one?
Marla started to open a bottle of antiseptic, but Charlie held out her hand for it. Charlie, be a dick,
I can do it myself.
she said. Marla looked like she was about to argue, but then she swallowed whatever she was about to say and handed Charlie the bottle and the piece of gauze.
I first read that as like antibiotics or some other.
As Charlie awkwardly cleaned her arm, Marla smiled and
What?
Impishly.
impishly. Thank you. I'm pretty sure this is Marla.
Oh Jesus. Speaking of people we like having around, are you having fun with John? Ow, it stings. And I don't know what you mean, Charlie said primly, suddenly pulling all her attention on her task. You do too. He's following you around like a little puppy and you are loving it. Charlie bit back a smile. How about you and Lamar? She retorted. Me and who now? Marla said. Here.
She held out a hand for the bloody gauze, and Marla and Charlie handed it to her, reaching for a clean strip.
You're going to have to let me tape it, Marla said. Charlie nodded and held the gauze in place as Marla reached for the tape. Come on, Charlie went on. I see the way you look at him. Nope. Marla smoothed down the last piece of tape and put everything back in the bag.
I like how it was just a nope.
Seriously, Charlie said as they got back into the car. You're adorable together, and your names are anagrams to each other. Marla Mar. It's meant to be. Both laughing, they headed back to the motel.
Yeah, it's meant to be because the fucking author wrote it like that. Like, name me one person named Lamar.
An engineering teacher.
Is he seriously named Lamar?
She.
She.
It's a dude's name. But yeah.
It's her first name.
Yes.
Her parents need to kill themselves. Or need to just not.
They're already dead.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, she's older than Derek, man.
Oh, God, I'm not even going to count that. Holy shit.
What? These are way
166, 135, so that would be 21 pages.
Jesus Christ, how long are these fucking chapters?
They're really, really long. That's the first thing you figure out about this book. These chapters are ridiculously long.
Fuck, man. Remember that book Mist I was reading?
But no, they actually have a reason for being very long. They're not just trying to fill up the fucking word count with going back to the pizzeria, going out, going back to the pizzeria, almost getting killed by Dave, which Dave is cool, he's my boy, and all that crap. God damn it, I want Dave to show up. Fucking God. He's the only fucking character alive.
Yeah, because with the Mist
Oh,
book,
and done.
the first chapter of, I think, like the second or third Mist book, was 144 pages long. Not 44, 114 pages long.
I'd rather read that than this. But
It's really good about this. You have to figure out what book they're going before they do
when
it.
they got to the motel, Jessica was already there, and so was John. He sat up when Charlie walked in. I was so worried about you. I thought maybe I could sleep on the floor. He waited nervously for her reaction, as though he had realized only upon seeing her that he might have overstepped her boundaries. On another day, another place, Charlie might have been annoyed by this excessive concern, but here in Hurricane, she was glad to have it.
Well, I'm glad the author is finally including spaces to include time skips.
They should be more consistent with how they mark time skips.
Shit. We should all be together. She thought it's safer.
She wasn't really afraid, but unease still clung to her like cobwebs, and John's presence had been calming ever since they had arrived. He was still looking...
Of course it's fucking John that has to calm her fucking presence. It couldn't be anyone else. Oh, it's John.
Like what? Maybe her best friend.
No, because we have to have straight shit in every book. You can't have any hint of gay cup stuff
that's-
because it's terrifying to people.
That's why I write. Remember that book I was writing where it's a whole bunch of different monsters and time travel and all this really weird stuff that sounds. Wow, I sound insane trying to describe it. And no one in there is entirely straight.
He was still looking at her, waiting for a response, and she smiled at him.
Oh, this is Charlie, right? As long as you don't mind sharing the floor with Jason.
She said. He grinned. Just let me...
Can you just imagine, like, Jason
I
from
thought you were
Friday
gonna
the
say, "Can you
13th
shut up?"
actually replaced with this Jason, and they could just, oh my god, it's just hilarious.
Just let me have a pillow and I'll be fine. Marla tossed him one, and he
I've got
stretched
to.
elaborately,
That's my mom.
set on the... He stretched elaborately, setting it on the ground and laying down.
We'll stop right
I will
here.
see you two idiots tomorrow.
Good.
And you can call me when you get home.
Okay.
I don't think they'll be doing anything.
Okay, bye, leave.
No.
They all went to
ass
bed
away.
almost immediately. Charlie was exhausted. Now that her injury had been cleaned and bound, the adrenaline of the night left her body all at once, leaving her drained and a little shaky. She didn't even bother changing into pajamas. She just collapsed on the bed next to Jessica and was asleep within seconds.
See, she just sleeps with Jessica, and yet she's gotta care about John.
Oh, yeah, we're fucking sentences.